Elon Musk was born on June 28, 1971, in Pretoria, South Africa, into a family that mixed technical curiosity with a complicated home environment. From a young age, he showed an intense, solitary focus, immersing himself in books, science fiction, and computers with the kind of concentration that makes adults describe a child as wired differently. He taught himself programming early and, as the story is often told, built and sold a simple video game called Blastar while still a kid. Whether you treat that as a charming origin myth or an early business signal, the pattern was real. He liked systems, he liked building, and he liked the idea that a smart design could change what was possible. In South Africa, he grew up during the final years of apartheid and the turbulent transition that followed. Those years shaped how many ambitious young people thought about mobility and opportunity, especially those who believed their biggest chances lay abroad. Musk's fascination was global and futuristic, and he wanted to work on technology at the edge of possibility. That long-term pull toward the United States, toward Silicon Valley and the aerospace tradition became a steady compass. He left South Africa as a teenager, moving first to Canada through family connections, a step that also made the eventual move to the US easier. He attended Queen's University in Ontario and later transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, where he earned degrees in economics, Wharton, and physics. Those two lanes, business incentives and physical reality, would become a recurring theme in his later ventures. He wasn't only interested in writing code, he wanted to steer enterprises. He wasn't only interested in products, he wanted to deal with the constraints of atoms, energy, and manufacturing. That combination would later define both his strengths and his most visible struggles. After college, he headed to California and was briefly associated with graduate study at Stanford, but the mid-1990s internet boom was exploding in real time. Like many founders of the era, he chose the volatile certainty of building over the cautious prestige of staying in academia. He and his brother, Kimball Musk, started a company that became known as Zip2, a kind of city guide and business directory that helped newspapers and local businesses make the leap onto the web. The product fit the moment. Traditional media organizations were trying to reinvent themselves online, and local advertising was a huge, messy market. Zip2 was not a glamorous rocket story. It was scraping together servers, persuading customers, and shipping a working service fast enough to survive. Zip2 eventually sold to Compaq in 1999, and Musk emerged from the deal with real capital and a reputation for intense work habits. The sale also confirmed something that would repeat. He was willing to bet heavily on the next step rather than settle into comfortable wealth. Where others might diversify and coast, he kept leaning forward. His next venture was online finance, starting X.com, which soon became a key part of the consolidation that produced PayPal. Online payments in that era were a battlefield of fraud, trust problems, and user experience pain. The technical challenge was hard, the regulatory environment was complex, the market was enormous if you could make it work. Musk pushed ambitious ideas about a financial super app long before the concept became mainstream. But the PayPal chapter also displayed a defining tension. Musk's high-conviction leadership style could collide with the priorities and temperaments of other leaders. He was not always the consensus pick in internal debates, and the company's direction evolved through conflict, mergers, and management changes. In 2002, PayPal sold to eBay, and Musk received a payout that, for most people, would be a finish line. For him, it became fuel. He had money, credibility, and a sharpened appetite for hard problems. And he had something else, a personal narrative he increasingly leaned into, one about using capitalism not just to build companies, but to build civilization-scale infrastructure. That framing would help him recruit talent, attract investors, and persuade fans. It would also draw criticism because it sets expectations at a dramatic level. If you claim your work is about the future of humanity, people will judge you not only by quarterly performance, but by ethics, impact, and truthfulness. Even before rockets and electric cars dominated headlines, Musk's orientation was already clear. He was not primarily chasing incremental software features. He wanted to bend major industries, transportation, energy, and later communications toward a different trajectory. That goal was breathtaking and, by normal standards, irrational. Building a new car company is hard. Building a rocket company is harder. Building both while telling the world you will also tackle energy storage, AI, and Mars sounds like a punchline, until you remember that the internet age sometimes rewards outlier ambition. By the early 2000s, Musk was positioned at a crossroads: remain a wealthy internet executive or attempt the kind of industrial projects most entrepreneurs avoid because they are slow, capital-intensive, and unforgiving. He chose the latter. That decision, more than any single product, became the hinge of his biography. What came next would define him to the public: SpaceX, Tesla, and a series of related bets. But to understand why he took those bets, it helps to see the PayPal-era Musk as a prototype: impatient with limits, persuaded that engineering and willpower could compress timelines, and willing to endure chaos if it meant achieving what others thought was unrealistic. The rest of his story would amplify those traits, sometimes into triumph, sometimes into controversy, often into both at once. After the PayPal sale, Musk began redirecting his wealth toward the kinds of ventures that are usually dominated by governments and legacy giants. In 2002, he founded SpaceX, Space Exploration Technologies Corp., with the goal of reducing the cost of space access and eventually enabling a human future beyond Earth. The idea wasn't simply rockets are cool. It was framed as a long-term civilizational hedge. If humanity is ever to become multi-planetary, the cost and cadence of launches must change dramatically. That mission was grand, but the path was brutally practical. Propellant chemistry, combustion stability, guidance software, supply chains, manufacturing yield, and endless testing. SpaceX's early years were defined by near failure. Rocket launches are binary. Either you reach orbit or you don't, and the difference can hinge on a small valve or a sensor reading. The company struggled through failed attempts with its early Falcon program. Those failures burned money, credibility, and time. Musk has described this era as one where a single additional failure might have ended the company. Whether the exact do-or-die moment is sometimes dramatized, the overall truth stands. SpaceX survived a set of early technical and financial cliffs that have killed many aerospace startups. The breakthrough came with improved engineering, persistent iteration, and a willingness to vertically integrate, building key components in-house rather than relying on traditional aerospace contracting models. SpaceX ultimately achieved a landmark, delivering cargo to the International Space Station under NASA's commercial programs, proving that a private company could become a reliable launch and logistics provider. Over time, SpaceX pursued reusability with increasing success, turning booster landings from spectacle into routine. Reusability was not a mere PR trick, it was essential to the cost curve SpaceX wanted. If you can fly boosters again and again, you transform the economics of orbit. As SpaceX grew, so did its ambitions. Starlink, a satellite internet constellation intended to provide global broadband coverage, and Starship, a fully reusable heavy-lift system aimed at radically increasing payload capacity and reducing costs. These programs expanded Musk's influence beyond aerospace. Starlink became relevant to geopolitics, disaster response, and communications resilience. Starship pushed the boundaries of what rapid, iterative hardware development could look like at an industrial scale. In the process, SpaceX also became an intense workplace, known for high expectations, long hours, and a culture that prizes execution. While SpaceX was fighting gravity, Musk also became the central figure in the modern electric vehicle story through Tesla. Tesla existed before Musk's involvement, but he became its most visible leader and a decisive driver of its direction and funding. The early Tesla years were another crucible. Building cars is famously difficult, and the automotive industry punishes mistakes with quality issues, recalls, and huge capital demands. Tesla faced manufacturing challenges, financial pressure, and skepticism that an electric startup could survive where so many had failed. Yet, Tesla achieved what many considered improbable. It turned the EV from a niche concept into a mainstream aspiration. Models like the Model S demonstrated that electric cars could be fast, desirable, and long-range. Later, mass-market ambitions with the Model 3 and other vehicles forced Tesla to become a manufacturing company at scale, an entirely different skill set than making a beautiful prototype. Production hell, a phrase Musk used publicly, captured the pain of ramping factories, optimizing processes, and dealing with supply chain constraints. Tesla's story became one of both technological achievement and relentless operational struggle, with Musk often acting as the human symbol of both. Parallel to Tesla and SpaceX, Musk launched and supported other ventures. SolarCity, founded by his cousins with Musk as a major supporter and later involved through Tesla's acquisition, represented a push toward renewable energy adoption. Tesla Energy expanded the story into batteries and grid storage. The Boring Company tried to reimagine tunneling and urban transport with a mix of engineering seriousness and showman branding. Neuralink aimed at brain-computer interfaces, high-risk science with potential medical benefits, and ethical debates. Over time, he also became associated with artificial intelligence initiatives and public commentary on AI risks, sometimes warning about dangers while also participating in the race. Musk's public persona grew into something rare, an executive treated like a celebrity, whose statements could move markets and dominate news cycles. Social media magnified this. His style, provocative, meme-literate, and often combative, built a devoted fan base and equally intense critics. Supporters saw him as a builder who forced entrenched industries to evolve. Critics pointed to overpromising, erratic communication, labor disputes, and the tendency to frame complex institutional problems as solvable by willpower alone. Both views found evidence. His acquisition of Twitter, rebranded as X, became a major turning point in how many people interpreted him. It shifted Musk from being primarily an industrial and tech leader to also being a direct actor in the information ecosystem. Running a social platform brought new scrutiny: content moderation, political controversy, advertiser relationships, product direction, and governance. The move also re-centered his biography around questions of speech, power, and responsibility, topics far messier than rockets and cars. For some, it was proof of commitment to a principle. For others, it was a distraction or an escalation of unpredictability. Across these chapters, one constant is Musk's approach to risk. He tends to treat timelines as negotiable and constraints as temporary, a mindset that can produce breakthroughs when paired with talented teams and chaos when reality refuses to bend. He's famous for setting aggressive deadlines, pushing for vertical integration, and making decisions quickly. In some contexts, those traits helped his companies outpace competitors. In other contexts, they generated quality concerns, legal challenges, and public backlash. A biography of Musk is therefore never only about the man, it is about the institutions and teams around him: engineers, factory workers, executives, investors, regulators, customers, and critics. It is also about the era that made his style uniquely powerful. The 21st century rewarded founders who could combine technical fluency with storytelling at scale. Musk's story is in part a story of narrative force. He sells a future so vivid that people are willing to join, invest, and endure hardship to reach it. At the same time, the myth can become a trap. When you are known for making the impossible happen, the world expects every promise to resolve into a product, every demo into a release, every timeline into a schedule. Real engineering often moves in bursts and stalls, with breakthroughs that come late and failures that are invisible until they aren't. Musk's life in the public eye has been a long negotiation between aspiration and accountability. By the mid-2025s, Musk had become one of the defining figures of modern technology and industry, someone whose work reshaped EV adoption, commercial spaceflight, and the conversation around satellite internet. He also became a polarizing cultural symbol, interpreted through political lenses, online conflict, and competing stories about what innovation should look like. To admirers, he's proof of audacity backed by engineering can bend history. To critics, he's a warning about concentrated influence and the risks of treating complex social systems like code. The most durable way to understand his biography may be this: Musk is a catalyst. He accelerates. Sometimes he accelerates progress. Sometimes he accelerates conflict. He's helped build real systems, factories, rockets, satellites that changed what the world can do. He's also helped build a public persona so large it distorts the space around it, making it difficult to separate the work from the spectacle. That tension between industrial achievement and cultural turbulence now sits at the center of his life story, and it is likely to remain there as long as he continues to operate at the scale he's chosen. As Elon Musk's companies matured, the scale of their impact began to reshape entire sectors rather than simply compete within them. What started as high-risk startups evolved into infrastructure players. With that shift came a new kind of responsibility, one less about proving a concept and more about sustaining complex systems that millions rely on. At SpaceX, the transition from scrappy challenger to dominant launch provider happened gradually, then suddenly. Reusable boosters became routine, launch cadence increased, government agencies and private customers alike began depending on the company's reliability. The development of Starlink added a new dimension. Instead of serving primarily institutional clients, SpaceX now interacted directly with households, rural communities, maritime operators, and governments seeking resilient internet connectivity. In conflict zones and disaster areas, Starlink terminals sometimes appeared as critical communication lifelines. That visibility placed Musk and his company in sensitive geopolitical conversations, where technical decisions could carry diplomatic consequences. The development of Starship represented Musk's most ambitious engineering gamble yet. Designed to be fully reusable and capable of carrying massive payloads, Starship was framed as the transport backbone for lunar missions, Mars settlement, and heavy satellite deployment. Unlike the careful incrementalism of traditional aerospace, Starship development embraced rapid iteration: test, fail, fix, repeat. Explosions during test flights were not hidden, they were streamed and analyzed. Supporters called it transparency and progress. Critics questioned the environmental, regulatory, and safety implications. But the pattern remained consistent with Musk's philosophy: compress time, tolerate visible failure, pursue scale. Meanwhile, Tesla entered a new phase. It was no longer the outsider fighting for survival. It was one of the most valuable automakers in the world. Electric vehicles became central to global policy conversations about climate change and industrial strategy. Governments offered incentives, competitors accelerated EV programs, and supply chains strained under battery demand. Tesla's factories in the United States, China, and Europe symbolized both globalization and industrial competition. Musk often spoke about manufacturing as the machine that builds the machine, emphasizing that manufacturing design and automation were as important as the vehicles themselves. Tesla's push into autonomous driving technology introduced another layer of complexity. The promise of self-driving capability carries enormous commercial and social implications: reduced accidents, new mobility models, and economic disruption. Yet, autonomy is a domain where edge cases matter, where safety must be measured statistically and ethically, and where public trust is fragile. Musk's optimism about timelines sometimes collided with regulatory caution and public skepticism. This tension illustrated a broader theme in his biography: visionary framing meeting the stubborn intricacies of real-world deployment. Beyond vehicles and rockets, Musk's ventures began to intersect more directly with artificial intelligence. His early warnings about AI risk positioned him as both participant and critic of rapid machine learning development. He supported AI research efforts while simultaneously cautioning about unregulated progress. That dual posture, builder and worrier, reflected his broader worldview. Technology is powerful and necessary, but unmanaged acceleration can be dangerous. The nuance of that position, however, often got lost in headlines and online debate. The acquisition and transformation of Twitter, X, deepened Musk's immersion in political and cultural currents. Running a global communication platform exposed him to the daily mechanics of speech moderation, misinformation challenges, advertiser pressure, and ideological conflict. Decisions about account reinstatements, policy adjustments, and product changes were no longer purely technical. They were interpreted as statements about values. The line between CEO and public intellectual blurred. For a figure already accustomed to public attention, this was a new arena, less about engineering tolerances and more about trust and narrative. As his influence grew, so did scrutiny. Lawsuits, regulatory inquiries, labor disputes, and shareholder debates became regular features of the landscape. High-profile executives face legal and financial challenges. What made Musk's case distinct, however, was the degree to which he personally shaped the discourse. His posts, interviews, and off-the-cuff remarks could trigger market movements or media cycles. Some saw refreshing candor, others saw volatility. Yet, even amid controversy, the core pattern persisted: build at scale. SpaceX launched more frequently. Tesla delivered more vehicles. Battery storage expanded. Starlink satellites multiplied in orbit. These tangible outputs anchored Musk's biography in measurable achievement, regardless of shifting public opinion. It is difficult to dismiss a reusable rocket landing or a nationwide EV network as mere branding. The hardware exists, the factories operate, the satellites transmit. At the same time, the mythology around Musk became self-reinforcing. He was portrayed alternately as genius, disruptor, billionaire provocateur, industrial savior, reckless tweeter, climate champion, free speech absolutist, or destabilizing force. Few modern figures attract such polarized framing. That polarization says as much about the era as about the individual. In a time when technology platforms shape economies and discourse, the personalities at their helm become symbols for broader hopes and anxieties. Understanding Musk's later biography requires stepping back from extremes. He is neither solely the architect of humanity's future, nor merely a chaotic executive drifting between projects. He is a high-agency actor operating within networks of talent, capital, regulation, and public reaction. His companies succeed not because of one mind alone, but because of thousands of engineers, operators, and partners executing complex plans. But his leadership style, intense, impatient, mission-driven, clearly imprints those organizations. There's also a psychological dimension. Musk often frames goals in existential language, making life multiplanetary, accelerating sustainable energy, safeguarding the future of intelligence. Such framing can motivate teams to attempt extraordinary feats. It can also create relentless pressure, where setbacks feel like betrayals of destiny rather than normal steps in engineering. Biographies of transformative figures frequently include this duality: vision as both fuel and burden. Looking forward, Musk's legacy will likely hinge on durability. Will SpaceX's architecture enable sustained interplanetary missions? Will Tesla's innovations maintain competitive advantage as legacy automakers adapt? Will neural interface research yield medical breakthroughs? Will AI ventures balance acceleration with responsibility? These questions are less about headlines and more about institutional endurance. Elon Musk's story is still unfolding. Unlike historical biographies written at a safe distance, his narrative evolves in real time, shaped by quarterly earnings, rocket tests, court rulings, policy shifts, and social media storms. That immediacy makes assessment difficult. Achievements can be overshadowed by controversy. Controversy can obscure structural change. The final judgment, if such a thing is possible, will likely consider both the systems built and the turbulence generated along the way. In the broad arc of modern industry, Musk stands as one of the few individuals who attempted to redesign multiple heavy industries simultaneously. Electric mobility, commercial spaceflight, satellite internet, energy storage, neural interfaces, AI platforms, each is formidable alone. Pursuing all at once is audacious. Whether history interprets that audacity as heroic, disruptive, flawed, or transformative will depend on outcomes that extend beyond any single product cycle. For now, the biography remains open-ended. A study in ambition scales to planetary proportions, in leadership tested by public intensity, and in the ongoing experiment of what happens when one person tries to accelerate the future faster than institutions typically move. As Musk's portfolio expanded, so did the complexity of his role. In the early years, a founder can just build and let the outside world interpret the results. At industrial scale, leadership becomes a continuous act of coordination: capital allocation, executive hiring, regulatory negotiation, supply chain resilience, and crisis management. Musk's biography in this phase becomes less about a single invention and more about how he behaves as a power center, how he motivates, how he decides, and how he handles backlash. The first principles brand and what it really means. Musk is famous for describing his thinking as first principles, a physics-inspired approach. Break a problem down to fundamentals, ignore tradition, and rebuild a solution from the ground up. In practice, this often translates into 3 habits. Refusal to accept legacy assumptions, that's how aerospace does it, becomes a reason to try the opposite. Aggressive vertical integration, build key components in-house to control cost, speed, and iteration. High urgency, compress timelines, accept discomfort, push teams through bottlenecks with relentless pressure. At their best, these habits created real breakthroughs, especially in areas where incumbents moved slowly. At their worst, they created a culture where people felt burned out, where public deadlines became internal whips, and where communication risk increased. Many leaders are demanding. Musk's version became legendary, partly because it was paired with visible, world-scale goals. Management through intensity. Musk's companies are known for intense pace. He has often been described as a hands-on executive who dives into engineering details, asks sharp questions, and expects fast answers. That can be inspiring for engineers who want their work taken seriously at the top. It can also be destabilizing when priorities shift rapidly or when a leader's attention becomes the highest currency. A recurring theme across accounts of his leadership is the surge dynamic. A big deadline approaches, the organization focuses narrowly, people work extreme hours, and a breakthrough, or at least a shipping milestone, is forced into existence. This approach can produce dramatic results, but it can also create long-term costs, turnover, morale strain, and operational fragility if hero mode becomes the default. Public communication as a strategic weapon and liability. In earlier decades, CEOs communicated through carefully managed PR. Musk helped redefine that. His direct, frequent posting made him feel accessible to supporters and gave him a powerful channel to rally attention. It also made him unusually exposed. A single message could trigger media storms, move market sentiment, create legal headaches, complicate relationships with partners, regulators, or advertisers. This is one reason his biography is hard to summarize cleanly. He is simultaneously the builder of physical systems and a constant producer of discourse. Sometimes the discourse amplifies the mission, sometimes it overwhelms it. Personal life in the spotlight. Like many ultra-famous figures, Musk's personal life became entangled with his public narrative. Relationships, family matters, and private decisions became widely discussed. This attention has a feedback loop. Intense public interest encourages more commentary invites more attention. A biography can't responsibly treat private life as gossip, but it can note the structural reality. The more recognizable a person becomes, the harder it is to maintain a boundary between the individual and the brand. That boundary stress affects leadership, public perception, and the emotional tone around everything the person touches. Wealth, power, and the billionaire question. Musk's rise also made him a symbol in debates about inequality and capitalism. To supporters, his wealth is framed as a byproduct of creating value. Electric cars popularized, rockets made reusable, satellite internet deployed. To critics, extreme wealth itself is a governance problem. Too much influence concentrated in one person, too little democratic oversight, too many incentives to shape public conversation for personal benefit. This debate is not unique to Musk, but his visibility intensifies it. The question becomes less, is he talented, and more, what should society do when talented people accumulate outsized control over infrastructure and information? His biography becomes a case study in modern power, private capital building systems once reserved for states. Philanthropy and impact choices. Musk has participated in charitable giving and public pledges, but compared with some other billionaires, his public identity is less centered on philanthropy and more on building companies that he argues have civilizational benefit. In his view, the mission is the impact: sustainable energy, space capability, global internet. Critics respond that impact claims don't replace the need for accountability, transparency, and responsible governance. What's important for a biography is not to score points, but to recognize the philosophical split. One worldview says solve problems by building transformative systems. Another says systems must be balanced by civic oversight and ethical constraints. Musk often occupies the first worldview and collides with institutions built around the second. The legacy question: products versus institutions. If you zoom out, Musk's long-term legacy may depend on which of his creations becomes stable institutions. SpaceX, will it remain the backbone of frequent, low-cost launch and eventually support sustained deep space operations? Tesla, will it stay a top-tier manufacturer as EV competition intensifies and margins compress? Starlink, will it become durable, globally trusted communications infrastructure or face constraints from regulation and geopolitical tension? X, will it evolve into a resilient platform with a clear model or remain a volatile arena tied to one personality? Neuralink and AI ventures, will they deliver meaningful, safe advances or remain long-horizon bets with uncertain outcomes? Biographies written too early often overweight drama and underweight endurance. The real measure is whether these systems keep working and improving without requiring constant emergency energy from the founder. A balanced way to read the story so far. A fair continuation of Musk's biography holds two truths at once. He helped accelerate real technological adoption and demonstrated new industrial methods, especially rapid iteration and vertical integration in hardware. But he also amplified risk through communication volatility, intense culture, and polarized governance decisions. That combination, construction plus turbulence, may be the defining signature of his era. And because he's still active, the biography remains unfinished. The next chapters won't be decided only by what he says, but by what his institutions can sustain: safer automation, reliable launch cadence, responsible communications infrastructure, and technologies that genuinely improve life at scale.
In the end, history will likely remember him less as a character online and more as a builder whose ambition forced the world to respond, sometimes by following, sometimes by resisting, often by doing both at once.
If you strip away the headlines, Elon Musk's biography is largely a story about execution under brutal constraints. Many people can imagine a better future. Far fewer can build the factories, supply chains, and operational discipline required to make that future real. Musk's most distinctive shift, compared to the classic Silicon Valley founder stereotype, is that he kept moving toward industries where software alone is not enough. Cars, rockets, satellites, batteries, tunnels, these are atoms businesses, where mistakes are expensive and physics does not negotiate. The factory as the real product. One of Musk's most repeated beliefs is that the factory matters as much as the product it produces. In this framing, a car company is not primarily a design studio, it is a manufacturing system. A rocket company is not primarily a launch team, it is a production engine that can reliably create flight hardware at scale. This mindset explains why his organizations invest heavily in in-house tooling, custom processes, and vertically integrated component manufacturing. This approach can be a competitive advantage. When a company controls more of its production stack, it can often iterate faster, reduce reliance on suppliers, and resolve bottlenecks without waiting for external partners. But it also increases risk. Vertical integration means you own more problems: quality control, labor training, equipment uptime, procurement complexity, and compliance burden. The biography of Musk as an executive is the biography of someone who repeatedly chooses to own the hard parts rather than outsource them. The rapid iteration philosophy, moving fast with hardware. In software, you can deploy a fix instantly. In hardware, iteration is slower and more expensive. Musk's teams tried to compress that cycle by borrowing the mindset of software: test early, fail visibly, learn fast, and applying it to physical systems. SpaceX's development culture became famous for this. But it is important to understand what fail fast means in this context. It does not mean being careless. It means accepting that certain unknowns can only be answered by pushing prototypes into real conditions and observing what breaks. This method can produce a kind of momentum that traditional programs struggle to match. It can also create public discomfort because aerospace and automotive norms evolved to minimize visible failure. Musk's approach sometimes clashes with a public expectation that industrial progress should be calm and orderly. In his worldview, calmness is not the goal, progress is. The supply chain as a battlefield. As Tesla and SpaceX scaled, they entered the world of complex supply networks: materials, electronics, machining, logistics, rare components, international shipping, and geopolitical risk. A modern factory is a map of vulnerabilities. A single delayed part can idle a production line. A single quality issue can trigger expensive rework. Musk's biography includes repeated episodes where the bottleneck moved, from batteries to chips to shipping capacity to factory tooling to regulatory approvals. What distinguishes his leadership in these moments is the way he treats bottlenecks as personal enemies. He tends to push for direct engagement. If a supplier fails, the team builds in-house. If a tool is slow, it is redesigned. If a process is too manual, automation is increased. If automation becomes too complex, manual work returns temporarily. This ping-pong between automation and practicality has been a hallmark of Tesla's manufacturing journey. It shows that Musk's style is not purely ideological. He can reverse course when reality punishes a theory. Money, persuasion, and making the market follow. Even the best engineering needs capital and customer belief. Musk became exceptionally skilled at raising money, maintaining investor excitement, and using narrative to stabilize organizations through volatile phases. This is not just charisma, it's strategic storytelling. In high capital industries, confidence can become a form of oxygen. If customers believe a product will be supported long-term, they buy. If investors believe a roadmap is credible, they fund. If talent believes the mission is meaningful, they join and endure hardship. Critics argue that this storytelling can slip into overpromising. Supporters argue it is necessary to unlock ambitious projects that would otherwise never be financed. Both views can be true. The founder story is a tool, powerful, risky, sometimes indispensable. Work culture, the engine and the cost. Musk's companies have reputations for intensity. That intensity is part of the output. It allows organizations to do more in less time. It also creates burnout and turnover. In biographies of industrial leaders, you often see this trade-off. A leader builds an engine that runs hot. Running hot yields speed. It also consumes fuel, people, patience, and often goodwill. A fair reading recognizes the human reality. Some employees thrive in that environment, others suffer. The long-term question is whether an organization can mature from heroic sprint culture to sustainable excellence. That transition, if it happens, often requires different leadership behaviors, clearer planning, healthier norms, stronger delegation, and stability that does not depend on constant urgency. Delegation and control. Musk is often described as simultaneously a delegator and a micromanager, delegating huge missions while scrutinizing details. That paradox is not uncommon in founder-led companies. Founders often believe the details matter because they do. Yet as companies grow, attention becomes the scarcest resource, and excessive centralization can slow decision-making or create fear around experimentation. In the biography of Musk, this tension shows up repeatedly. He wants speed and autonomy, but his intense involvement can also pull decisions upward. Companies around him have had to develop ways of operating that can handle his style, sometimes by building strong lieutenants, sometimes by insulating teams, sometimes by creating internal translation layers that turn big vision into manageable execution. The strategy of force multipliers. A consistent theme across Musk's ventures is the search for force multipliers, choices that make progress compound. Reusability in rockets, use hardware to reduce costs and increase cadence, standardize platforms in cars, common components and architectures, software updates to improve products over time, energy storage to complement renewables, satellite networks to scale communications beyond terrestrial infrastructure. These are not random, they are leverage points, where a single breakthrough can unlock exponential progress. Musk tends to aim at leverage points rather than incremental improvements. The biography underneath the myth. At this stage, Musk's biography becomes less about one man's genius and more about a particular theory of industrial change. Pick a high-impact problem, commit to owning the hard parts, move faster than traditional institutions, use narrative to attract capital and talent, and accept public conflict as the cost of acceleration. This theory has produced undeniable results in certain domains. It has also produced controversy, backlash, and internal strain. But it explains why Musk remains such a compelling figure to some and such a worrying figure to others. He is not merely competing, he is trying to rewrite the speed limit for how big systems change. The open question is whether this approach can scale indefinitely, whether you can run multiple planetary-scale projects on urgency, charisma, and relentless iteration without eventually needing calmer, more institution-like governance. Many founders reach a point where the very traits that built the early engine become risks for long-term stability. Musk's ongoing story will be shaped by whether his organizations evolve beyond him or remain permanently dependent on his intensity. When historians eventually write about Elon Musk with the benefit of distance, they may treat him as a bundle of contradictions held together by one consistent drive: to accelerate outcomes. Those contradictions are not side notes, they are central to the story. Musk is both admired and criticized because he sits at the intersection of things society loves and fears: bold invention, concentrated power, fast-moving technology, and the reshaping of public discourse. Builder of systems, amplifier of conflict. One of the clearest contrasts in Musk's biography is this: he builds hardware that is measurable, vehicles delivered, satellites launched, rockets landed, yet he also fuels conflicts that are social and harder to quantify. The engineering achievements are concrete, the social impact is contested. This combination makes him uniquely hard to place in a simple narrative. For supporters, the story is straightforward. He proved that electric cars could be mainstream, that rockets could land and fly again, that a private company could become a major space infrastructure provider. They see a builder who forced incumbents to improve and expanded what humanity can do. For critics, the story is also straightforward. He overpromises, court tests boundaries, drives polarizing discourse, and holds too much influence over infrastructure and conversation. They see a figure whose volatility creates real risk and whose celebrity can distort accountability. A biography that matters has to hold both perspectives without collapsing into propaganda for either side. The hero-inventor myth versus team reality. Another contradiction is the gap between the public's desire for a singular hero and the reality of modern engineering. Musk is an excellent symbol for the heroic myth, the lone visionary pushing impossible projects. But rockets and cars are team sports at enormous scale. Thousands of people design, test, manufacture, and operate these systems. Musk's influence is real: strategy, urgency, hiring, capital raising, and engineering focus, but the myth that one person built it all is an oversimplification. This matters because myths shape expectations. When a CEO is treated like a superhero, criticism feels like betrayal to fans and like moral correction to critics. The result is a cultural battleground rather than a balanced evaluation of outcomes. The ethics of acceleration. Musk's strongest internal logic is that speed itself is ethically justified because delay has a cost. If sustainable energy adoption is too slow, climate damage worsens. If space access is too expensive, scientific and strategic possibilities shrink. If innovation is throttled by bureaucracy, progress stalls. But speed has its own ethical costs: reduced deliberation, increased error risk, public trust damage, workplace strain, and governance gaps. Musk's biography is, in many ways, a test case for the ethics of acceleration. How much urgency is healthy? When does move fast become reckless? Where should regulators draw lines in technologies that are evolving faster than policy?
There is no easy answer, but the tension explains why he is perpetually controversial. He is not operating within the comfortable tempo of older institutions. Influence over infrastructure. A critical element of Musk's legacy will be infrastructural. SpaceX and Starlink, in particular, have implications beyond commerce. Communications infrastructure touches national security, emergency response, and geopolitics. Launch capability touches military and scientific strategy. When private companies become essential infrastructure, their leaders inevitably attract political attention, and their decisions can have consequences far beyond business metrics. This is not unique to Musk, but his personal visibility intensifies it. He is not just a CEO, he is a public actor whose statements and preferences are widely interpreted. That fusion, personal brand plus infrastructure, may be one of the defining features of 21st century power. The personal brand as an operating system. Musk's public persona functions like an operating system for his empire. It helps recruit talent, attract attention, and create a sense of mission. It also introduces fragility. If a person's reputation swings sharply, it can affect multiple companies simultaneously. Biographies often show how leaders become trapped by their own persona. When people expect you to be a certain character, visionary, rebel, provocateur, you can feel pressure to perform that character. The performance can distort decision-making. In Musk's case, the immediacy of social media makes this dynamic even more intense. The platform rewards hot takes, conflict, and constant presence. But industrial leadership often rewards patience, quiet competence, and long-term trust. Those incentives don't always align. What history might keep and what it might discard. If you imagine the future historian's shelf, what endures is usually not the daily drama, but the structural changes. Did EV adoption accelerate and stay mainstream? Did reusable rockets become the standard, reshaping access to orbit? Did satellite internet meaningfully close connectivity gaps? Did battery storage help stabilize renewable heavy grids? Did these institutions become stable, or did they depend too heavily on one leader's constant push? History tends to compress personalities into a few traits and compress careers into a few outcomes. Musk may be remembered primarily for two big arcs: the electrification of transport and the commercialization and industrialization of space. The rest, platform turmoil, public disputes, side ventures, may become footnotes unless they reshape institutions in lasting ways. The unfinished ending. Unlike biographies written after death or retirement, this story has no final chapter yet. That means any conclusion must be provisional. Musk's next decisions could tilt the legacy toward stable institutions that outlast him or toward greater volatility that overshadows achievements. Many leaders are judged not only by what they build, but whether they build structures that can govern themselves. If Musk's companies mature into durable systems, safe, reliable, accountable, his biography will read like the story of an unusually ambitious industrial architect who dragged multiple sectors forward. If the institutions remain permanently turbulent, historians may judge him as a brilliant accelerant whose style carried an unavoidable cost. Either way, his biography already marks him as a defining figure of his era, a founder who bet that civilization-scale change could be engineered, financed, and shipped on deadlines that seemed unreasonable by teams willing to run at a pace that most organizations cannot sustain.
By the time Musk became a household name, he was no longer just a founder with big ideas. He was an operator of multiple high-stakes machines, technical, financial, and cultural. If you try to describe his biography at this stage, you almost need to describe a method. Not a secret formula, but a pattern that repeats across companies, industries, and controversies. Step 1. Choose problems that are too hard on purpose. Musk rarely chooses a problem because it is safe. He tends to choose problems that are structurally difficult, expensive to enter, regulated, slow to iterate, and dominated by incumbents. Space and automotive manufacturing are the clearest examples. This is partly ambition, but it is also strategy. In a hard market, persistence and clever execution can create a moat that is difficult for copycats to cross. In a software startup, competitors can appear overnight. In rockets, competitors need factories, test stands, launch licenses, supply networks, and years of iteration. Musk often aims where the entry costs are so high that if you survive, you own a durable position. Step 2. Frame the mission so it feels existential. Another repeating feature is the way Musk frames goals. He rarely sells a product first, he sells a mission. EVs aren't just cars, they're a tool to accelerate sustainable energy. Rockets aren't just transportation, they're a bridge to a multi-planetary future. Satellite internet isn't just broadband, it's resilient infrastructure for a connected world. This framing is not just marketing, it is recruitment and endurance architecture. People will tolerate difficulty longer if the goal feels meaningful. Investors will fund longer if the story feels historic. Customers will forgive early imperfections if they feel they're supporting a movement. But mission framing also raises the stakes. If you claim moral urgency, people will judge you morally. If you claim world-changing impact, people will ask whether your choices match that claim. That's why Musk can't simply be evaluated like a normal CEO. He positioned himself as a civilization-scale actor. Step 3. Build speed into the DNA, then pay for it. Musk's companies prioritize speed in ways that often feel extreme. The internal logic is simple. If you can compress time, you can win before competitors stabilize. Speed also forces clarity. You can't indulge endless debate if something must ship. In practice, this creates a distinctive environment. Deadlines are aggressive, sometimes unrealistic. Work intensity is high and often sustained. Hierarchies flatten during crises because the bottleneck matters more than titles. Teams learn quickly because the feedback loop is immediate and unforgiving. The cost is equally real. Burnout, higher turnover, mistakes under pressure, reputation risk if a fast iteration collides with public expectations for stability. Musk's biography repeatedly cycles through this exchange: momentum gained, costs incurred, and then a rebalancing attempt, sometimes successful, sometimes not. Step 4. Own the narrative, especially in turbulence. In a volatile phase, many leaders go quiet. Musk often does the opposite. He speaks, posts, jokes, provokes, explains, and sometimes contradicts himself publicly. This keeps attention on his terms. It can rally supporters and distract from setbacks. It can also create fresh problems that didn't need to exist. This is a key biographical point. Musk does not only lead companies, he leads attention. Attention is a currency. It attracts talent, capital, customers, and political interest. But attention also attracts scrutiny and accelerates backlash. Step 5. Treat constraints as negotiable until they aren't. Musk's worldview often assumes that limits can be pushed. Engineering limits, cost limits, schedule limits, even cultural limits. That mindset is how breakthroughs happen, but some constraints are non-negotiable. Physics, you can't talk your way around it. Safety and reliability thresholds, regulation and law, human endurance. A significant part of Musk's story is the collision between his push-through instinct and these hard boundaries. Sometimes he pushes and wins. Sometimes he pushes and pays. Sometimes the push creates a new standard and others follow. Sometimes the push creates a public crisis. Where the playbook shines? When the playbook works, it works spectacularly. Rockets landing and flying again becomes routine. EVs become aspirational, not niche. Charging networks expand. Factories achieve scale. Satellite networks deploy quickly. These are outcomes that incumbents often said would be too slow, too costly, or too complex. Musk's strongest supporters see these achievements as proof that his method is necessary, because without it, progress would be trapped in slow institutional cycles. Where the playbook breaks is often not in engineering, but in governance and trust. Overconfidence can create promises that slip. Public provocations can alienate partners. Rapid changes can destabilize organizations. Controversial speech can turn customers and advertisers away. Political interpretations can attach to products and platforms. The biography becomes a study in trade-offs. How much volatility can the public tolerate in exchange for acceleration? How much chaos can a company tolerate before execution suffers? In this sense, Musk is not simply a person. He is a living experiment in whether 21st century industrial transformation can be driven by founder intensity at global scale. The experiment has produced historic achievements and historic controversy. To imagine how Elon Musk's biography might eventually read when it's truly finished, you have to think like a historian rather than a news consumer. News focuses on spikes, a launch, a lawsuit, a viral post, a market swing. History focuses on baselines, what changed and stayed changed. The two pillars most likely to endure. If you compress Musk's career into the most durable contributions, two pillars stand out: electrification and the reshaping of the auto industry. Tesla did not invent the electric car, but it helped make EVs desirable at scale and forced the industry to respond. Even competitors that once dismissed EVs accelerated their timelines. Governments adjusted incentives and targets. Battery supply chains expanded. Consumer expectations shifted. Commercial space as a high-cadence, partially reusable industry. SpaceX didn't just build rockets, it normalized a different tempo and economics. Reuse, fast iteration, and frequent launches became more than theory. This shift changed how space projects are planned and priced, and it influenced how governments think about partnering with private launch providers. A third pillar may emerge depending on outcomes: Starlink as global communications infrastructure. If it remains reliable, scalable, and broadly accepted, it may become a defining piece of modern connectivity. The question of institutions: can they outgrow the founder? One of the toughest tests for any iconic founder is succession, formal or informal. Even before a founder leaves, the organization must learn to function without constant founder intervention. Many companies fail this. They become dependent on the founder's energy and instincts, and when that energy is absent or misdirected, performance degrades. A future biography will likely ask, did these companies mature into stable institutions with strong governance? Did they build cultures that could sustain excellence without constant urgency? Did they maintain trust, safety, reliability, transparency at global scale? If the answer is yes, the narrative becomes industrial architect. If the answer is no, the narrative becomes brilliant accelerant. How the culture wars shape the memory. Modern biographies are not written in a neutral vacuum. Musk has become a symbol in broader ideological conflicts about speech, media trust, corporate power, labor norms, and regulation. Those conflicts will influence how different groups remember him. One group may remember the rockets, the factories, the technological ambition, the willingness to bet everything on hard problems. Another group may remember the volatility, the platform controversies, the governance concerns, the sense that one person held too much influence. Neither memory will be the whole truth, but both will persist, and biographers will have to navigate that split. The human dimension that history often reveals late. Over time, the most interesting biographies become less about achievements and more about the person's relationship with pressure. Musk's life has been a long confrontation with relentless expectations, public obsession, extreme responsibility, and constant conflict, and the addictive loop of attention. The public sees a confident figure, but the deeper biographical question is how anyone stays psychologically stable inside that level of intensity. Some leaders retreat into privacy. Musk moved into the most public room possible and stayed there. A finished biography would likely explore that choice, not as gossip, but as a factor that shaped outcomes. The Mars Clause. For Musk specifically, there is a unique historical clause: Mars. His stated long-term ambition to support human life beyond Earth is not just a dream, it's a central justification for SpaceX's architecture. Whether or not humans land on Mars in his lifetime, the attempt itself may become part of the legacy. If human exploration beyond Earth accelerates significantly because of SpaceX's systems, that will be a major historical marker. If not, Musk may still be remembered for transforming near-Earth access and launch economics, important but different from the civilization story he often tells. The final evaluation may be simple. Despite all the noise, history often reduces complex lives to a few enduring conclusions. A future Musk biography may ultimately say something like,
He proved that founder-led urgency could change heavy industries faster than institutions believed possible. He built organizations that made electric transport and reusable rocketry normal. He also demonstrated the risks of mixing infrastructure-scale power with constant, personal, public provocation. His legacy depended not only on what he built, but whether those systems became stable, safe, and governable. And that's the open ending right now. The work is still running, rockets still launch, cars still roll off lines, satellites still multiply overhead, platforms still evolve. The story isn't finished, yet the outline of what will matter most is already visible. Measurable industrial change, plus the ongoing debate about what kind of leadership the future should reward.